It's funny how people react to things. I was a couple years ago, a friend of mine invited me up to his cottage for the weekend, which is very nice. Ended up talking to his parents while I was there, and we were talking about traffic on the drive up because I didn't really know them and we'd already talked about the weather. And while we were talking about the traffic, they happened to mention that their friend across the lake got to his cottage by flying there in his helicopter. To which I responded, wow, that guy must be pretty rich. And they got defensive. They're like, no, we're not saying he's rich. All we're saying is he owns a helicopter. And I'm like, yeah, and all I'm saying is he owns a helicopter. They're like, no, you don't understand. It's not like he could afford to buy another helicopter. Like, he'd have to sell the helicopter he has before he could get a new one. And that was the first time in my life I realized there are people out there who make the distinction between helicopter rich and helicopters rich. Which I totally understand. I do understand what they were saying, though. They were saying all his assets are currently tied up in the helicopter. He's helicopter poor, is what they're saying. And as a student at the time, I did understand that because of all of my assets were currently tied up in a bag of unripe oranges from No Frills. Because I'm poor, but not scurvy poor. You know? I'll leave you with one more story. Another couple years ago, I was at a party. This was a pretty cool party. Sticks in my memory. There's people there from all over the world. There was a couple people there from Paris, France. There was a girl from Argentina, a guy from Saskatchewan. So all the major hubs. And I'll admit this to you now, you've probably picked up on it a little bit. I'm a bit of a nerd. I don't have social skills so much as I have facts that I can repeat to people. But for whatever reason, at this party, they loved that. I was the life of the party. Like, I don't know if it was because English was their second language, or because anything is more interesting than Saskatchewan. I don't know what. Like, I knew the origin of the phrase taking flack, and unlike you, they found that interesting. Okay, so that's the level we're operating at. So at one point in the evening, I was talking to the girl from Argentina, and we were talking about movies and religion and philosophy and all that deep stuff. And I happened to mention to her, I was like, hey, did you know that all the world religions got together and they were asked to pick a non-religious movie that best describes their religious philosophies? And they all picked Bill Murray's Groundhog Day. Yeah. Which is something I heard once and repeated as fact, but when you think about it, probably isn't true. Because, like, first of all, when did we have all the world religions together? That didn't happen. We would have heard about that on the news. And even if they did, what a wasted opportunity that would have been. Right? Like, well, for the first time in history, we have representatives from every single major world religion with us together on stage right now. Looks like we have time for one question. Yes, you there in the back. Hey, I know we've had like thousands of years of religious conflict and strife in the world. So, I was just wondering, what's your favorite movie? Bill Murray's the one thing they can all agree on. But anyway, the girl from Argentina, she did not call me out on this fact, which was very cool. She just kind of believed it. She'd actually seen the movie, which was pretty cool. She's just like, yeah, just one question though. What's a groundhog? And I was like, oh, right, you're from South America. They've got different animals there. That makes total sense. Well, a groundhog is like a fat rodent that lives underground. She's like, oh, okay. So, did they just make it up for the movie? Or is there actually a town that has a whole day dedicated to a fat rodent? Well, it's not just the town, it's kind of all of North America. And she said, why do you have a whole day dedicated to a fat rodent? Well, we let it predict our weather. How does a fat rodent predict your weather? Well, we reach down a hole, grab it, pull it out, and then if it sees its shadow, it's 6 more weeks of winter. She's like, how accurate is that? I was like, it's not very accurate at all. It's really terrible. She's like, well, how do you even know if the fat rodent sees its shadow? Well, we talk to it. She's like, you get some crazy person to talk to a fat rodent to predict your weather. And I was like, no, they're not crazy. They're usually the male. And she's like, that is the dumbest thing I have ever heard. I was like, you know what? It's only dumb if you think about it. And nobody ever does think about it. Because Groundhog Day is in February, the middle of winter. Do you know how awful North American winters are? Like, it is dark all the time. It is so cold, your skin literally splits open and bleeds. It is cold, it is dark, it is depressing, and in that pit of misery and despair, sometimes you just want a respected public official to reach down a hole, grab